So we probably don't need an introduction because Eimear's just Eimear on my channel. But here you are. And I think it's a really amazing space to step into 5D living, because I don't think two people work more in the 5D living realm than both me and you, and how we work together and how we unite and cross over. So I think we should talk a little bit about that, as well as soul gatherings, which I'm so excited about, this thing that you're birthing into being, and Rose Magdalene lineage that I want to speak about, because you're well, I'll let you say what your soul gathering's about, and witches. Oh, witches as healers, in fact, which is a big old difference. And I have a lot to say about that at the moment. It's very alive in me. So do you want to jump in about what's happening, what you got going on?
What's going down in the hood? Yeah, a lot. And it feels, I have just come back from the woods, and it feels very big, and like this is taking on a whole life of its own, and is a huge big cycle connected to one of my other summits, healing the witch wound. But what's coming forth right now is my 5th online event, and this one, number 5, the witchy number, and this is called the Golden Grail, the Rise of the Magdalene Witches. And it is a soul gathering. After having a session with you, it came together as this. It's a soul gathering. It's a reunion. It's an invitation for all of us to return and remember who each one of us are, and to gather together again, to connect. Because the ultimate, one of the aims is to repair our broken hearts of grief and trauma and all that's happened to us over the eons, and bring forth this Magdalene witch energy to open our emerald crystalline hearts, infused with golden resonance, and ignite this divine spark within each one of us. So it feels very deeply infused with a deep love for ourselves, for each other, for our earth and cosmos, and that we're bringing forth this new combination, like an alchemical combination with the Magdalene and the witch, and what that then co-creates out in the world. I don't know exactly yet what that is, but it feels really deeply powerful and deeply rooted in our earth.
Yeah.
And grounded on the land of Eru as well, because it's summer solstice. So it's really connecting with the land to support all that wants to birth and come forth.
Yeah. And where do you think our souls are currently? Because this was a question. And it was actually, and what came up is, so this is the way that you, so I know you from summits, having been on 2 of yours, and I think you're a master at summits, and you're stepping into the mystery now, because a soul gathering is something new. It's something more Magdalene. It's something more of the healer witch approach, because souls are important, and gathering those souls feels much more 5D than a summit, because it's a paradigm that exists already, and the Magdalene's bringing something new. But I do remember you always being very brilliant at this. You were like, I'm going to bring in the question that's held in the space, but not quite. And you always kind of brought it around to, and I had this epiphany drop as I was doing, like, the end of what I learned at the end of each of your last 2 summits. I remember the first one, I was like, oh, Freemasons came back round in. And then the second one was like, you're not doing this in my name, you know, and that poem came out. And then as this one emerges, I'm going in a whole deeper level of witch. And I remember you were really good at plucking this out. So I kind of wanted to do that back at you, because as you were speaking, I wanted to say, where are the souls being harvested, being taken? Why do we need to gather back? Because what soul parts have we lost? Do you feel?
Oh yeah, I feel like they're everywhere in limbo, in lost lands, in places that once existed and will exist in the future. They're fractured, they're shattered. When I think of my life and any traumatic events, it's like they're shattered in the ethos, kind of floating and waiting. Yeah. I've had past life healing sessions where they've been on Nibiru and like horrible places like that, held captive, locked up under lock and key. So I feel like they're everywhere, and they belong to us, each one of us. And this is like magnetizing and inviting these parts back home. So it is, I feel like they're floating out there in space, in the cosmos.
Which makes it so powerful that it's now moved into a soul gathering, because it's like, we're getting them back. And I want to talk about a beautiful process we both did through your, and it's kind of a new way that your work was emerging and where soul gathering came from, that actually your own process through summits, which I feel like we should backtrack a little and talk about that. But we gathered on the land of Edinburgh, which means a lot to you. And actually what I ended up just holding in space for, and it's a lot of work I do about getting souls to the light and back into the body, is that you were taking up all the souls from Edinburgh, the witches that were harmed there, and sending them into the light, and some weren't going up, and what we'd seen was some had more fallen witch consciousness, so that they weren't ready to go to the light, and then but there was beautiful soul energy coming back, and it felt a next dimensional level of because at the time I was just reading your soul of your work of walking the lands and calling these soul parts home. It felt quite phenomenal, and another level of soul gathering.
Wow. And that's why we work so well together, because we have these ideas, and you go forth and act upon them, not fully knowing, stepping into the mystery, as you said. So half the time it's like, I don't know what I'm doing or what's going on, but I know it feels really powerful. So that's so beautiful, and explains as well that magnetic calling, that pull to the land, to Scotland where I live, to Edinburgh where the witch awakening first happened, to Ireland, which is my soul home, deeply rooted.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit more about your summit/witch journey, because it's and what you're doing and writing about all of that. And there's a lot of buzz around Eimear right now. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
Hence the need to walk the land and stay grounded and allow it all to continue to integrate. Will I start with the witch awakening, or do we want a shortened version?
No, I don't want a shortened version. This is about the witches.
Yeah, how dare I even suggest to shorten their story when their lives were cut short in the first place.
Yeah.
So the first part of the witch awakening happened in Edinburgh, on the lands of Edinburgh, when I went on tour. I was called into the dungeons of Edinburgh, into the underbelly, the undergrounds. And as I stepped forth on this tour to volunteer to go and mock role play, mock trial for being a witch, and as the judge stood above me on his pulpit, and me standing in my barefoot, ragged form in my mind, in this connection to past lives, it really ignited this spark that was very small in the beginning, but this spark of divine knowing that this had happened to me before, probably many times, and that on this occasion, although this was a laugh along, funny role play for families, my family were with me, within me, it was like this very definite no. And when everything aligns in that moment, and it was like, no, I'm playing along in this moment. Inside of me, I'm going, this is not going to happen to me again in this life. I will not be put on trial by you up your ladder on your hierarchy and your silly wig, no offense, although take offense if you wish, those silly wigs that the judges wear, and the hammer, and with that pompousness of justifying sentencing me to death for practicing my craft because the law permits it, or did at the time in the 15th and 16th centuries. So in those dark, dank dungeons, that was the first realization that I had been a witch in many past lives. And part of my soul mission here in this life was to bring repair and reparation is the word, to bring a healing to the word witch, and the true meaning of that word as the wise one, the healer, she who knows, she who sees, and to carry that forth. And that's part of the story. The beginning.
And I think the beginning, is I find it funny how we weaved sort of in our own timelines of that journey, whereas, you know, I was off writing AWAKEN, which turned into my witch awakening, but also it went into court so that I could get justice for it, for what had happened. So, and it never was going to before. The previous play didn't do that, and then it went into court, and that felt really important, thanks to an idea by Ellie who worked on the piece. And I feel like that is a lot of people's start of the journey of which maybe they're not building a whole summit around it or writing a whole play around it, but going through a past life recall of why was I killed as a witch, and actually I need to reclaim this medicine and this healing elixir, and to know that there's a big movement for that, and that actually I'm not sure that the court system ever served us or still does. You know, it's worth looking more deeply into systems and structures that are in place that, you know, that don't make sense, because we are free sovereign beings. And I know I've looked a lot more into that and feel like, a lot of the witch wound that came up in the past is still very much here to be rectified and looked at. So it feels really important to go back into these past timelines. But then after you had your initial witch awakening, what happened next?
Well, then I knew I had to share it, because it felt so big and deadly, to be honest. That fear of being killed again was still very present, even though I was going, no, not in this life. And I had to share it because it felt so much bigger than me, and I felt like I would spontaneously combust if I didn't actually share and speak about it. So then became the seeds and the little following the breadcrumbs of sharing during my class that I was running at the time. The Cailleach Witch entered a few days later to give me fuel and fire and thunder and lightning, raucousness to give me courage, really, to speak. And I created that summit back in 2020, which was Healing the Witch Wound, because I felt like, as a lot of the soul gatherings are, it's like, I'm interested in this topic. I want to explore it. And in order to do that, I'm going to invite loads of people along who resonate with this and share their knowledge and expertise. So that's what I did, and created Healing the Witch Wound Summit, which was, it was catalytic, to say the least, and very healing. And again, before launching that, I felt that heaviness of feeling like I was going to die was very present. So it was very karmically healing.
Yeah, and I feel like I just want to speak into that a little bit, because I feel like we're going through a guided witch journey as we speak today, which is quite beautiful, because I kind of said to the Magdalenes, come in and guide it where we need to go. And I know that a lot of people I work with, I've been through it myself. You're talking into it, you've gathered people and animated this voice, but the fear of spiritual persecution is huge, and it's not gone anywhere. And even though you do healing work on it, at all different stages when you're aware of it. It's deep, and let's not beat around the bush. There are still people that are getting silenced, bumped off, taken off platforms for speaking spiritual truth. So it's real. And I mean, I create 5D theatre. 5D is all about the throat chakra, bringing stories, sacred word into being and speaking the truth. And that's what I plan to do until my dying day, because I've walked through a hell realm in the past few years. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to speak, all the voice cracks. But I want to say that I feel like there's a very real fear. And I remember on this summit, you were talking about how your voice kept going, and that kind of healing medicine of still speaking, even though it's difficult, and going through that process. And I think often when people see someone speaking out about something, they might think that it's easy, and it's not. And it takes it takes getting up and fighting your biggest demons, let's say, to do it. And that I found it, and that's how I first connected with you, through that summit. You kindly shared, and we connected and talked about it. And I actually found that I found a bit of healing for my soul in witnessing that, because I saw, oh, it's not just me that's affected by this persecution, and other people are speaking out. And in deeper ways, I really appreciate the sister souls that spoke about the ancient Egypt lineage in that. As well, that I was like, oh yeah, I figured it went deeper. This is what my soul keeps reminding me. So yeah, thank you for doing that. And I feel like people should revisit that summit. Well, any of them, I dive back in, and just to get because it just depends where you are on your journey, but to get witnessed as what spiritual persecution and witch in particular is, which it highlighted. And after the persecution pain, which doesn't necessarily end, but there's more healing medicine to come, what happened beyond that?
Yeah, the throat, the healing of the throat was a huge part of that particular summit, and and at the same time the creativity that flowed forth, that enabled me to speak. And after that, it was like, I've said this before to you, it was like, that's witch done. Let's get back to normal life, and the proper work that I do. I thought that would be it. Because who am I to speak of the witch? Who am I to talk of healing the witch wound and all of this?
Oh God, suddenly I got a flashback to our session now, when I was like, do I tell her the summit's on? And then I went, I've got to say it, because your soul was like, it ain't done.
It's not done. This is only the beginning. So it turned into a trilogy, initially a trilogy of witch summits over the last 3 years, 2020 to 2022. Witches Rise Up was the second one, and then Witches Reclaiming the Round Table. So it's like each time we're taking quantum leaps in the role of the witch in our modern day society now. She is no longer shunned to the history books and the back burners, pardon the pun. She is here now, full and forefront, center stage. So with each one, it was like, first it was like, heal the wounds. Then it was like, witches rise up and return to your power, which was the initial mantra that came to me in Edinburgh after I emerged from the dungeon and visited the Witches' Well Memorial on Edinburgh Castle Esplanade, which is a memorial to the witches that were burnt at the stake on Edinburgh Castle Esplanade. And yeah, with each one, it was like, rise up. So it felt individual and collective, but also I was continuing to heal myself. And then it became quite Arthurian and magical with the round table entered. And Cheryl, I think all of these have been from sessions with you. So like this connection and the healing, my personal healing, has been so interwoven with sessions with you and your encouragement as well. every
you know
step of
why?
the way.
Because I speak to souls as you do. And so this is me just going, and I think that's the essence of 5D living that I want to highlight to everybody. Once you start aligning with your soul's purpose and hearing your soul's story and your soul's voice, it's a journey I've taken to write that I was just going to say just channel my soul, like, yeah, it's fine. It's not, it's a process of getting in, but it is where the truth and the strength and the pulsing and the need to do something comes from. And I feel that is it was wonderful to witness your soul getting bigger and brighter and pulling it apart. And I feel like it's important to also say that when we get stagnant or we get in pain and we need to heal something, then a bigger soul truth will come at the other side. And that's all part of the truth, and why I want to put together a Channel Your Soul Stories course, because I walk this path alone, writing my soul story and going through the persecution and then going in deeper and then channeling a story and then going through it in my life and then thinking I was done and then going in deeper and finding ancient magic that no one was really talking about and going, oh my God, I have to speak about this. Because this is what my soul wants to say. And that's why I love working in a soulful way, because it might not be easy, but it's your healing power, but also your magnetic power, because your soul gatherings just start to grow and grow and grow and grow. And you went from a place of stagnancy to, yeah, a soul gathering. And from reclaiming the round table, before we come on to the soul gathering, it's just like this to me. It's like huge. What did you find you reclaimed at that round table? Was there something that you took with it? Because I saw a change in you, but what did you find that which gnosis did you get back at that table?
That's what it was like. It was like suddenly, it was like, hang on, all the knights are claiming that table. We need to be there too. This is out of balance. So one part of it was taking my seat, like truly, because the witches had said, step onto your throne. I thought, that's nice poetry. But actually it was reclaiming my seat at the table and really inhabiting, you know, when you sit on a great big throne, inhabiting this space and come home to that power. So it gave me added deeper roots in reclaiming my power and being a voice for the witches and now a voice for the Magdalene, and not necessarily hang on to or be concerned with what other people are sharing, although that's important as well. It's like, this is flowing through me. This is flowing, what's flowing through you, and share that. So it really did give me a even deeper roots.
Yeah, and I'm going to go into that.
I'm going to go
you know it. You're like, oh,
and there's more.
She's going, because I'm just still working with your soul now, unfortunately. Like, oh, I can see you going, oh, damn it, she's reading the soul. And underneath that round table, it was quite huge. Like,
oh yeah,
the portal underneath, because the knowledge has been taken. I mean, the Knights Templar, sketchy, interesting history about where they've come from, going back to the Freemasons line, but also your soul's place in this purpose to bring voice back today is quite big. And I wanted to know if you wanted to speak into anything under the round table.
Yes, gosh, I'm so glad you pointed to that. Kind of that this is the portal as well. This round table as a technology could be a positive portal or not. And yeah, I was brought to a series of many different past lives. Where shall I speak about some of them?
I think you should.
Yeah, it's like they kind of all merge, but there was one particular, a few that I'm being brought to now to speak about are these places where either I was a witness to the persecution, I was part of the persecution, or I was being persecuted, and brought to ancient Egypt, to moments in ancient Egypt, to caves under the ground where the altar is present, but it's dark, and everything, all the beauty and the gold and the light is stripped from these places. And oh yeah, that one with, I was at a round table deep down underground, but we weren't connecting in a powerful way that was going to support life on our earth and our ascension. We were connecting in such a deadly way that it was sacrificial, and a sacrifice was happening, and the body parts were chopped up, and I felt like this is how Baphomet was created. Like, it makes me sick. I could feel my throat here as I'm sharing this. And this is how the statue of the Baphomet is created, with these flesh and blood body parts to create this unnatural figure that people still worship. And it felt so disgusting, and being forced to drink that blood and eat the body is just such a distortion, a direct distortion of the sacred texts and the way they were meant to be lived, that it was like the total inversion of everything.
And I want to speak into that as sisterly supports, because I really appreciate you bringing that to awareness, because I know a lot of people have this in their Akashic records and their soul history. I've walked with them through it, and possibly feel alone or scared by it. And one of my purposes is to hold space and protect space of that. And through my own journey, when I first realized about the darker side of magic, I have to say I was a little bit blinkered. I was so fiercely protective over witches because I was going to reclaim how they were called in the dictionary, and I was going to get justice, and I was going down that path. And I didn't want to look at witchcraft, how it had been taken. I have to be honest, there was a while back where I looked into Luciferian cults and thought that they were freedom seekers for a while, and I thought, I support that, worship whatever you like. No. No way, do not. Then I looked really into it. I looked into the history of Aleister Crowley. I've done a lot of work protecting spaces from satanic abuse. And why I know the truthful root of this is because I'd watched something, I think it was on Into the Light News, and or a different episode, and a baby was raised to be sacrificed. And I just looked at it, and in that moment I had a past life regression right into Egypt, and I was that baby being lifted to the fire. And I was like, I know the soul's truth in this. I know the soul's truth. And now I find it awful that people that have been through this abuse in this lifetime, of which there's many, get silenced and ghosted, and people don't even know that this kind of abuse is real. So if you're going to go into the witch history, you're going to go into magic and understand that, then there is a shadow path of it, a darker art, because it's so powerful and pure at its root and life-giving. Like you say, the inversion is life-stealing, and I think it's really important to bring both of those to the table. And it was why when we walked the lands of Edinburgh together, I know people feel differently about the witch as well, but I liked that the plaque had put the harmers and the healers for the first time. And that's how I suddenly understood witch history. There is the healers, who I am fighting a flag for. The healer, I am one. It's in my bones. I was killed for being one. My family lineage, I've got mediums in it. I'm still trying to get justice for. This is my life's work. It's going to take many moons, let's say. But that actually the reclamation from the darker arts needs to come to the surface and healed and revealed and reclaimed. most importantly. So thank you for sharing that. And I, you know, I have many a lifetime and a route into ancient Egypt, which is coming up massively as I go into my second plane and go, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I just want to add as well, while you were speaking, and thank you, because we've got to have a lot of trust in the people that we're working with to support these healing processes. And I totally innately trust you and the journeys we've had together and where we go, you know, both in the physical realm and the spiritual realm. So thank you. Yeah. And I want to add as well that Thoth, I can't even say his name, was present in that distorted round table ritual as well. And to me, he looked like Darth Vader from Star Wars, and was a very intimidating, distorted character that was working with this fleshy Baphomet figure. So I just wanted to add that part.
Thank you. And that's important, because two things happened around witches reclaiming the round table. When I was doing regressions with you, and I bring it back to that, I felt me and you come to the table and go, not on our watch, not acceptable. And what I understood through walking through your soul, and also how I've been walking mine separately, and our souls keep meeting like this on different parts of the witch's journey, was that we'd committed to, no, this isn't acceptable. You took our magic, you took our medicine in this timeline, and then our magic, and it's all one. And I'd seen very much, and I kind of taught it on the Black Rose, a deeper awakening of Anubis and these gods that I'd been studying and worshipping with Thoth and Horus and Isis. And this was all the magical lineage. I was like, oh my God, the origin of healing and magic in Egypt. Oh, wow, I'm home. And then on the underground, underneath the portal, underneath the pyramids, underneath the ground, what I was seeing was Anubis Anunnaki, short for. So suddenly it made sense of seeing these bestial-headed gods and goddesses, and how Isis had dismembered something, and then it had a bird head. And then I looked at all what the Sumerian tablets are bringing about Anunnaki heritage, who is very much anti-life. I mean, just go and please do your research on it. And then seeing my lifetimes underneath these temples with an absolute abuse of the human spirit. And as I spoke on in 5D Living about, you know, I love animals, I love humans, I just don't want them mixed, much like we can use technology, but we are the technology. So let's not mix our bodies with technology. The same thing's playing out. And that actually turned out to be my through line for the second play. That was like, oh my God, through going in the deeper cycle. And I think I want to bring this back round to Freemasonry and secret societies, because you don't see what's going on at the top level. You do not see, it's not out there to see, it's a hidden society. And so what I want to bring forward is that some of us have seen the deeper levels of what goes on in secret societies that were seeded in ancient Egypt. You know, these bloodlines go deep. So what we're doing is bringing it back into collective awareness, not because you know, we're not grateful to have seen these things. It's not very nice, but lots of people are seeing it, and actually it has to be spoken about because it can't remain secret anymore. That's a sacrifice of humanity to keep it secret. So where are we now?
Well, I love that you say all of that, and I had more images of where else souls are as you were speaking, again, connected to past life healings that you've guided me on, and the pyramids, of course, underground, locked away in the pyramids. And also it's like they're frozen in time, just frozen like blocks of ice. Yeah. And I want to just bring into your emerging soul gathering that actually from that session with you, I changed it from just wanting to talk around what I know about magic, and you know, I'm still going to bring in a lot of that because we're meeting on the summer solstice, but also that we've now emerged into a soul retrieval
a live soul retrieval to do, because this is the soul gathering, and I wanted it to sort of circle round into a soul retrieval, because I was like, I want to get Eimear's soul back, because there's that queen on that throne that needs that to be fully embodied in this day. She's been doing the work, like having a super healing. But I also felt like there's a lot of us, witches and Gnostics and magical keepers of the protecting, keeping of the magic, that deserve to get our souls back. And although I do it one-to-one with a lot of people, I also wanted to offer it out in a bigger capacity, in a workshop capacity. It was always my dream for where the plays went, that we'd all have this big soul retrieval. So yeah, it felt really good, and that we'll be doing that live on the 21st, getting our souls back. So tell us more about your what's going on with the soul gathering, and what's landing and emerging, because it is getting energetically bigger, isn't it?
It really is. And it's interesting, the energy around this, I said earlier, it feels deeply loving and so powerful, and yeah, a very different energy to the other summits. I don't feel like I'm going to be killed yet, but wait and see. It doesn't have that density like before, and that's testament the amount of healing I've been going through, and you and everyone. And it's one of the starting points for this, as well as continuing on beyond the trilogy of witch summits to this is my 4th witch summit, but 5th summit, as I said, is that it's seated in Imbolc, the time of Imbolc, because I teach and follow the seasons of the year, the witch's wheel. And Bridget stepped in very strongly with her flame of remembrance. And she told me, this was just waking up one morning, and there she was at the end of my bed. I'm like, what are you doing here? Hello, good morning.
Someone visits you at the end of your bed, don't they?
I know, my dad included. Yeah. I wish they'd bring like a cup of coffee or something.
Oh, that'd be good. Morning.
Breakfast in bed. But no, she had a flame, which of course is fuel and fodder in itself. And it was like she was saying, like, I've held this flame for eons for you, and now it's time for you to fully reclaim this flame and to become, like, dance the flame, feel your inner fire, even more so, and there's my voice, even more so than ever before, because it was like, we've got your back, we're here, as well as everyone in our human form, we're all here as well. But then I connected it then to the Magdalene flame, and Bridget as Mary of the Grails, Mary Magdalene. And then a few weeks later, on my dad's anniversary, on the 24th of February of this year, it was actually a few days before his anniversary, this massive poem came through, and it was called Sweet Magdalena. And it was connecting where I am now with my deep love for him, but also how we are and will work together, him as my spiritual teacher, me as the holy daughter, the holy child, the queen. Yes. And it was working with the land here, but also the connection with Egypt and the Marys and the Magdalenes. So that was the moment at the end of February when the Magdalenes came in, because I haven't been a person that's been following that lineage or tradition knowingly in this life. So when it came through and we were in the temple of Dendera, and there was Bridget and Mary Magdalene, and I felt the presence of Hathor there as well. And I'm sure the Cailleach witch was circulating somewhere, because she doesn't like to be left out of these things. You know, she's the real protectress energy. And there they all were, and it's like they're guiding and guarding this inner flame in the sacred center, in this sacred chamber for all of us to bring it forth. That was part of it.
I just feel like I've gone into another realm now. I'm like, oh, and you know what, if you don't mind to bring us full circle, chuck that out there. Would you like to do a quick shared impromptu meditation?
Ooh,
Yeah.
why
Oh,
not?
oh, very 5D. Just because I felt like we were going into a mystical realm, and I actually thought it would be quite nice to just do a little guidance into this Magdalene portal of the unknown without knowing the answers, but knowing that if you jump in, you can find them. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. I'll put something over this so I can we can come off screen if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just come off screen because I get distracted by me.
Yeah. I like
Ooh.
looking at myself. No, I'm joking.
Fine.
Yeah. So
Would you like me to dive in first, or?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So coming into the body and welcoming in the Magdalene witches who have been working with us a very long time, and no doubt they're working with many, many people who are tuning into this frequency, who are following any of this witchy work, that are gathering at the soul gathering that is being ignited, and also calling in the masculine energy who's been through a journey of great hardship to get here, the knights, the fathers, the protectors of the land and of their daughters, calling in that energy and knowing that we are united in our spiritual war, our fight, that we are not fighting amongst each other. This isn't a revolution against the human spirit, it's a revolution for the human spirit. And gathering together to reclaim our souls and call them home. I'm guiding us on a journey down the portal that we wish to take. Deeper, deeper down underground. If you dare go there, know that you are protected by the strength of the bubble of light, the golden lineage that was the true Osset teachings, the Sophia Gnostic lineage, and maybe they come through in different names to you. Just protect and collect your warrior soul part and your lineage, and going deeper into the spiral of your DNA, your soul's gnosis, to find your true Magdalene wisdom.
And as you follow along the gold-edged tunnels as portals, just notice where you are being brought to as this tunnel opens up underground in a place like the Temple of Dendera. Or perhaps it's a new temple that is created for us at this time. And Magdalene and Bridget are waiting to guide you inside into the inner chambers. And as you step forth, you can feel the sun, the warmth, the golden rays on your back, infusing you with added protection of golden resonance. And holding this in your heart of emerald crystalline green light. You step forth into the holy of holiest chambers, shedding anything, any density, any cloaks of deception, any distortions that are not welcome in this pure chamber cavern. For only the purest of heart may enter into this space, where the fire, the flame of remembrance is being kindled and kept alive and alight for you. And notice what flows through you as you step inside. This is like the dark womb. And in the corner, resting upon a marble altar, encased in gold, that glints and shines in the flame of the fire. It is a golden tabernacle, a sacred container for which you now hold the key to unlock and retrieve your innate treasures when the time feels right for you. And breathing deeply, feel into whether this is the right time to step forth and unlock the box. For you hold the codes and the keys for this to take place. And as the doors burst wide open, notice, dear Magdalene witch, soul sisters and brothers, notice what treasures are waiting inside for you. For this is the place and the space where the golden Grail chalice is stored, where the sacred bread that is your body is held sacred. So retrieve your treasures now. Place your hands on your crown. Reclaim your staff, your scepter. Remember a golden shield. And the jewel encrusted orb. And the Magdalenes hold space for you to integrate these treasures within you now, representing strength, courage, and inner power. to carry out your divine soul mission.
And taking a look around this circle of Magdalene witches that have gathered, know that each one has a place and a space and a right to be there. And as happens in any shamanic circle, there are the truth bearers, there are the protectors, there are the healers, there are the ones that hold the wisdom, there are the ones that hold the magic in their hands. There are so many different color rose lineages, the blue, the yellow, the pink, the white, the gold. It goes on and on in different frequencies, through the purple, through the silver, reaching up through the black rose line, through the underworld. Maybe you've traveled there and it's been hard to come back into this circle because your trust of spirit has been broken, your soul has been shattered, and your wisdom wandered into a different realm because it was taken. And today, with all the love and support of the true Magdalene lineage, we reclaim it back to her throne, our throne, Uset's throne, and witnessing all the magic that was laid bare. Take your soul parts home with you. It is your free will and birthright to be a whole, healed self at this time. So take them, reclaim them, own them. Putting all the light back in and reweaving the black and gold serpent, your Kundalini energy up and down your spine. For this was Uset's true magic that the Magdalene had studied under. The Egyptian Tantra of your life force that is being anchored back in your body, in this space, in this time. And so it is.
And so it is. Because we made a pact. And with the teachings intact, now we return to share them. Magdalene witches, we have returned to reclaim her story.
And as a protector witch, to close out, letting all the energy just drop away from this space. Disconnect your energy and coming back into your body in this space, in this time, keeping the wisdom and light with you, but letting every other portal drop away and be closed until you feel ready to return. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you for diving in.
That was so beautiful.
Yeah, it really was. I was running this like Eimear. That's what's come through to me today, that actually what needed to be guided was to have you have the gift of how you hold space back at you. So yeah, that's yeah, that's it. And I remember being in a circle with you many circles with you, and you said, Cheryl, I feel like you've got something to say. And I was like, I know, but, and then I ended up channeling loads of witches' stories, which is something I always wanted to say. And I feel like the gift today has been to let you say what you need to say, because as I love what you bring forward in summits and soul gatherings that are to come, but I also love what you have to say about the whole of witch history. So it's been a pleasure to witness it and hear it today, and thank you for sharing space.
Yes, and I was gonna just add a tiny bit there to that connection you made of the treasures that we're reclaiming, that these are the soul parts. Oh, so here's another place where they have been, and we are retrieving these now as well, which is so beautiful. So I just made that connection during that too.
Oh, me too.
I love that. Wow.
Yeah.
We are the key now. We hold the codes to access all of this magic and bring our souls home.
Yeah. And I will share in the links and which your summit, which is being birthed on, what date does it go live?
We go live on the 16th of June, and I'm doing a live opening ceremony and talk as well at 7 p.m. UK time.
Amazing. Can't wait.
Me neither.
Oh, and we close the circle.